Hi guys, are you ready for some sunny days? We sure are. This is one of our new door hangers and it is a super simple one. So if you're looking for an easy project, I would choose this. I'm going to start with my background, and in your kit, we are going to, as long as we can get the supplies, we're going to include a roller for you to put this background on. If you choose to, you certainly could brush it on or use a baby wipe. For instance, you could just dip a baby wipe into your paint and do your background with that baby wipe method. Just be careful when you get to the edges to go away from it, and make sure your baby wipe is not clogged with a ton of paint. That's gonna give you a more wood grain look, so you may or may not prefer that method. With the roller, we're just simply going to roll a coat of paint onto our background. Again, I'm sort of rolling away from the center towards the edges. And I only ever do one coat. Well, most always do one coat. I like to sand my pieces, so one coat on there and a little bit of sanding is what I prefer. You may choose to put it on a little bit more opaquely. Okay, so I always squirt my paint onto another surface instead of squirting it straight on here, because sometimes it will leave behind the memory of where that squirt line was, because it will pull the already painted piece off of there. So just gonna pull away my edges here, get my middle. I'm not using a ton of paint. The thinner coats always are best because you want it to have a nice even finish. So I'm just rolling this on here. Okay. All right, pretty happy with that. When you're done rolling it, if you, or whatever your method is, you can check your edges, and if you've dripped down over your edges, you can use a baby wipe or a wet paper towel and clean those up. Some people might prefer to paint those edges. You certainly can. I think it's tedious, and I don't usually do that, but you can do it however you would like. So we'll set that aside to dry. I already did my sun detail with white using the same method that I'm doing with the teal here. I just did some of this to save time. My big words are done, and I saved a couple here to paint for you. You can use the wedges, the foam wedges that we put into your kit. You want to make sure that it's not dripping with a lot of paint. I always wipe mine off and then proceed. You're much better off with 2 thin coats than you are with 1 thick drippy coat. If you are painting the edges, I guess you wouldn't care, but I don't ever paint those edges. It takes a long time. It's pretty difficult to get that on there and have a nice clean finished look. When I turn mine around, I'm just holding it down with my fingernail. If your fingernails are short, you could hold it with a pencil or a pin or a vinyl picker. Okay, so I've got that on there. Alternately, if you wanted to use a foam brush, I do this a lot in the shop. I grab my foam brush in my hand, you lay my finger on top, and I use the opposite side. I'm not brushing at all. I am simply doing an up and down bouncing method gently to get my coverage. Put this down here. Again, holding it with my fingernail, turn it around. I prefer this over the wedge, but whatever tool works for you. The most important thing is thin coats of paint in an up and down bouncing gentle motion. That will keep your edges from being all dripped with paint. Okay, so basically that is the painting. I did the exact same thing on the white, and I'm not going to glue these during the video only because my yellow is not going to be dry here for a little bit. But I did want to show you a quick trick that I did. On the back of my sun, before I painted, I put a little pencil mark. I did the same thing on the back of my sun, so I knew quickly where they would line up with each other. This is not dry, but if it were dry, I would put my super glue on the back of my hanging mechanism, and I usually put a little extra on there, more than I do on my other pieces. I would glue that on here. You can change this up as long as you want it. If you don't want to see the twine, just keep it fairly short. You can pull this out and make it longer, and then just tie this underneath so your hanger is ready to go. And I will do that once this is completely dry. So my hanger will be under there. This is where my pencil mark was, up here, and I have my pencil mark right there. And so that means these are gonna easily line up. And like I said, my yellow paint is not dry, but it's gonna be glued right there. I go around, and about every inch or two, I put a dot of super glue. You wanna be careful with your super glue. You don't need a ton. If it squirts out from underneath, it will dry shiny, and nobody wants their fingers stuck together. Same thing on the back of here. Every so often, I will add a dot of glue. That's gonna go right down there. You could sand these to distress them a little bit if that's your look that you like. You could also take maybe some of the white or the teal and speckle it like a fly speck. Take a stiff brush or an old toothbrush, dip it in a little bit of water, a little bit of paint, and speckle it. That would be fun. So these guys are gonna go here. I think I might even change up my teal on my smaller words, maybe lighten that up with the white a little bit, make that a little bit different than the sunny days. So that's an alternative that you could do. I will post the finished picture, and that is a super simple, fun door hanger for summer.